Well, I'm Curious Nosnick. I'm currently a junior at BSU doing a little bit of comm, a little bit of environmental studies, and I've worked at the rec center for now almost 3 years. So have at it. What questions do you have for us here at the rec center?
Can you tell me about your job?
Yes, I work part-time at the front desk, and I also do a little bit more around the rec center as well. I work over at Parks and Rec, and I do their front when people come in to register for programs, Kids in Action, and I also work with Wendy Davis, who is the outdoor rec. So I do, like Wednesday, I'm going on a snowshoeing trip with the active adults and stuff like that. So I kind of do more than just front desk, but I was hired as a front desk customer service rep. So we basically, main point is to set up memberships. So when somebody comes to me at the front desk, my ultimate goal is to make sure that I get them what they came in for and that they're leaving happy and that they're going to want to return. Because obviously it's a place that we want to convince them that they need to come in as often as possible. So I feel like my job as a customer service rep needs to be very clear that they're happy, and if they have questions, that I get them answered, that I get them taken care of, and I leave them with enough information that they don't feel like they're going, what did I just do? What did I just spend all this money on? Do you think I'm really going to go back in there? Because honestly, there's a high percentage of people that spend $600 and come in a couple times a year. So I really try to give them those, the knowledge of what would help them to get back in, stuff like that. We offer some personal training sessions to them as members, so I make sure they know that to help them out. There's things that we really want them to come in. So my job, I feel like, is to make sure they feel comfortable coming back in. Anyway.
How do you deal with a customer that is irate or upset?
I like to let them tell me the entire story without interrupting, but it's hard because sometimes you just want to jump and say, wait, okay, I can answer that, or I can fix that, or whatnot. But I've learned, because I've done customer service nearly for about 11 years now, and I figured out that they just really need to talk and get whatever it is they're frustrated about, whatever complaint it might be. I've realized if they can write it out first, we have a comment sheet. So I will most likely have them write it out on a comment sheet and let them know it can go to somebody very high, first of all, to get it answered if it's a serious problem. Or if it's something that I have control over or something that I can fix, that's what my job is. So.
Could you give us your company's mission statement real quick?
No.
Like not verbatim, but like.
Verbatim. It's basically providing help and services to the community because we are run by the city of Nampa. So I think it's overall general, it's a customer service. They're coming in to buy something from us, and then we're giving that service back to them. Which, thank you. I'm going to go read the mission statement. I should know it better than that. Anyone else?
What forms of communication do you think are most effective between you and your supervisors, and do you feel that you have a consistent form of feedback to?
Oh, absolutely. The rec center is by far one of the best companies I've worked for that purpose right alone. I feel like I can go directly to them, and I've worked with some places where you don't have access to that top management, or you have to request it in writing and hopefully you get a reply. Where at the rec center, it's really honestly more like a family. I go to John and just say, hey, this is happening, or I need this, or this is what's going on, or any type of thing like that, and John is quick to resolve it, quick to come up with solutions, and I'm a solution person. I love fixing problems. That's been my thing, and so I just really go at it head first and just talk to him, and he's great with his feedback. Absolutely. I think in general, most people at the front desk have a really good ability to talk with John because he's as you guys noticed, he's very just easygoing, very easygoing. So it's really easy to get things resolved.
Do you feel like this job is just something that helps you get you by at the moment, or other aspects of it that you think will help you in the future?
Oh, absolutely help me in the future and currently where I'm standing. Because I'm a student, they work with my schedule in every aspect. Plus, it's really teaching me hands-on, face-to-face, skills that I think are going to be necessary for the rest of my career, whatever choice it is. Because I have to deal with so many people every single day that are coming past my front desk. Even whether I'm simply just saying hi to them, that makes me more likely to just pass somebody on the street and say hi, because I know that person maybe just wants a smile or a hi, and I feel like my job has really taught me that, because I have no hesitancy now as someone's coming in, or I'm just walking past at school to say hi, how you doing, because I have to do this to 500-600 people a day. So.
What would you say motivates you to work at the job that you're at?
I love it. I really love it. it uses a bunch of different skills. It's my customer service. I get to interact with people, which I really love. Plus, there's other aspects of, getting paid to go on a snowshoeing trip or getting to sign kids up for Kids in Action. I really like helping people, and I like to be with people, so the job is great because it's not full-time at the moment, but if the city wanted to hire me full-time, I would stay there definitely. So.
Do your supervisors do anything different to like motivate you to want to do your job well?
There isn't a ton of motivation or internal incentive, really. I've gone over it with them a couple times thinking that there should be. I've previously worked for another gym that I made incentive, and it made it a lot easier to come in and work. But at the same point, since they don't, they really try to accommodate us because John knows if he's not going to give us the schedule that we can work because we have school or family, that we're just going to leave because we are only part-time and we're not getting benefits. So their way of the incentive is to really schedule us what we want to work so that we're there when we want to be. Makes it a lot easier than, oh gosh, he scheduled me that day again. I told him I couldn't. None of that. That is his point is, and it's crazy. All of us are school students just about, so he has schedules that are just, everyone can't do this, that, and the other, and bless his heart, because I wouldn't want to be the schedule. It's a nightmare. But he makes it work, and all of us are happy, so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did you said you were in communication studies at BSU?
Yeah, I actually got my associates from CWI and then transferred it.
Do you think that working at the rec center is helping you through that and being able to apply it to particular fields?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of that face-to-face. I didn't like public speaking. I didn't like doing that stuff, and I joined the speech and debate team to kind of get over that fear. And I think working at the rec center has just, made it even easier because I am the front point of interest. I'm the first person they see come in, and I'm the person that's going to help them if it's a membership. If it's park and rec, I send them to where they need to be, but most likely, I'm that first contact. So I feel like, no matter what job I have in my career or school, I need that point of confidence to be that first person and make sure it's a smiling face and it's a helpful attitude. So.
What was your interview process like?
It was great. I was a little worried because I knew there was a ton of people applying, and I'm just simply a number. Everything's done online these days. So I made sure I called and figured out who the supervisor was, and then he wasn't there, so I left him a voice message to introduce myself, let him know that I'm interested in the job and would like to come in and talk to him or definitely interview with him. And it was good. It was him and the other supervisor, and they asked basic standard customer service questions. How would you deal with conflict? How do you handle upset people or little kids? Can you stand that all? Kind of questions. And so it went pretty well. And then he said, actually, the reason I got the job was because I made that phone call. I was hired 1 out of 250 people, and it made a difference because I made that first step to call him. So I kind of think in this day and age, you got to do that. Otherwise, you're just a number online.
Do you have any funny stories?
Not funny. I don't know funny. I'm not good at remembering this stuff because there's so much stuff that happens. But there's some definitely strange stuff. We deal with every spectrum of people. There's everyone in between. Most recently probably is a lady mistook a girl for a boy and literally freaked out. She came to me and said, "There's a boy in the locker room." And I had to calm her down. She's crying. She has anxiety. So I had her sit, and then I went in and found who it was to make sure I had to talk to this person if it really was a boy. And it wasn't. It was a girl. She just had short hair. So I had to apologize. Then I had to come out and explain the whole thing. And the lady almost didn't believe me, but I just I made sure she was decent before she left, so everything got resolved. But it was a little strange because I was confronting someone that was a girl and said that it was a boy. Yeah.
So what did you learn from your position? What did you learn most about your job?
About my job, what have I learned most? Really kind of how to deal with all different situations. People come in every form and they have a different opinion about everything. So I've really learned to take people's opinions more closely. I've learned to listen better. I'm really trying to figure out what they want out of buying a membership, and or if they have problems, what it is that I can fix or who I can get them to make sure that their problems are fixed. So I kind of feel like it's given me an easier way to resolve things, a better resolution on customer service.
you had conflict with another employee, how would that be solved?
I just go to the supervisors. Through dealing with the different jobs I have, I feel it's best to just have a casual conversation with my supervisor or boss that there's this going on, and if they have any suggestions on what I should do, whether they would like me to deal with it with that person, or if they would like to step in and take care of it, depending on what it really is, what's going on.
And if they step in, how would you say they solve it? Do they resolve it well, or?
Yeah, I really think they do. I haven't really had any employee conflict in 3 years because they resolve it before it even gets to a point, most of the time before we know anything's going on. They really do have a good system of employee, and I think there's a lot of employee trust at the rec center as well.
Do you have any personal goals with the company?
I do. If I'm doing part-time until I graduate, just because it's a lot more flexible with my schedule. I've been full-time 18 credits for 3 years now, and so part-time is really all I can do. But once I'm done, they know as well that I would love to move into any full-time position there. So I'm definitely willing to stay, and even possibly stay part-time and find something else to fit in with that, even for a few more years if they can't do full-time employees at that point.
What happens if you have a conflict with the supervisor?
Hasn't happened, but I would probably just approach the director. You know, Cody is technically my director, so if I were to have a problem with Cody, John, I would go to Cody to hopefully get some questions answered on what I should do and how I should approach it.
What's your favorite part about working there?
People, the people I work with, the people that I help, the new people and the old people, the people that have been coming for absolutely years since we opened, they're great because they feel like it's a home for them. And at the same point, I feel like I'm treated more than just employee. I feel like it's a rec center family. So it's really the people I work with and work for.
Do you know any of the rec center's like long-term goals?
I don't probably have any. I would figure it's to continue with the growth of the rec center and customer service, but not really.
With a lot of part-time workers at the rec being young, this age group with college and part-time working and all that situation, how do different people coming in and out at various times, because part-time is usually pretty long,
Yeah.
how do you deal with having new employees and having to put together that new team atmosphere?
It depends on who the new employee is, but most of the time it just takes hands-on training. You could sit there for hours and go over what it needs to be, but it really just needs to be them doing it. So it takes a lot of patience and observation. You're standing there patiently behind them so that if they have a question, you can show them how to do it. I know that's how I learn best when, John has a tendency to go, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. And then you're like, okay, whoa, I don't have my hand on the mouse. I have no idea what you're just doing. And so we've kind of been trying to work, because we do have a lot of turnover. And so really, I think it's the hands-on learning and just understanding that if they're going to eventually get it, then you just have to have patience, because there is that new person that's coming in maybe, once or twice a year. We had it pretty steady for a while, and then schedules got mixed up, so now we're hiring 2 to 3 people if anyone's interested. But yeah, it tends to be, to me, you got to have patience and just realize you might have to explain something 5 times, and that's how it is. So they get it on their own.
You said that now you're hiring. What advice would you give to people who are looking to get employed or future employees?
Make contact, let them know that you're someone local in the community interested in it and why, and definitely try to make your resume stand out and or contact. Like I told you guys, that's the only way I got the job, is I made sure I called and I went in and tried to visit him and he wasn't there. I didn't realize he was night and weekend supervisor only when I was interviewing. But I really think it's important to make your number not a number, put your face to that application somehow.
How do you receive feedback from supervisors or
Supervisors are kind of just direct feedback. We about once a year have a sit down with supervisors and go over anything that needs to be worked on or go to compliments kind of thing, but it's really just a mostly direct feedback, and that's how we do it with our customers as well. We try to get them to fill out a comment sheet, and or they just come up and say, hey, this pissed me off today, and then you make sure I tell John, hey, there was somebody that didn't like this, that, and the other, and he's like, oh, okay, make sure that I get their name, and he does whatever he does with it. But I definitely always try to pass it on if they haven't written it down, because If it was me, I wanted my situation documented. If I'm complaining, I hope somebody's taking my complaint seriously, so I try to treat it the same way.
So if there is an issue with the customers, I mean, you try very hard to work on that, but you couldn't solve the problem. So will you report it to the supervisor or to the director?
I pull where I need, and I'm not hesitant to, because I know I can't solve every problem, and I know I'm not gonna be able to make everybody happy. So I have no hesitancy pulling on John or pulling on any supervisor. That's gonna be able to help me make sure that person gets their resolve and are happy, or at least get their conflict, realized.
So you talk to the supervisor first.
Depends on the situation. There's some things that aren't, that are pretty minor that John would be like, come on, I know you can handle that, just deal with that. And so, I'm not hesitant to do that. But when I know that it's a little bit beyond me, I just don't have any hesitancy to talk to them first and say, hey, how would you like me to handle this? Do you want me to call them? Would you like me to, how would you like me to approach it to make sure that I'm doing it how the rec center wants me to do it? I don't have problems asking questions and getting something straight before I go ahead and do it. Because first of all, I don't want it to be my fault if it goes wrong. I'd like it to be John's. And second of all, I just really want to make sure that person's helped.
How does technology affect your communication?
Oh man, without technology, communication would be hard, because we do use, even internally, the radios to make sure if I need housekeeping at this second, I can get them. And that's a means of communication to them always being able to be contact. John, I can call in the morning, at night, if he's not working, and he's gonna make sure he answers that cell phone to make sure our communication on any issue is there. And then generally, just within employee internal communications is really great. The way we have it set up and the way that we feel like we can talk amongst each other is I think, pretty excellent. And I think everything can be worked on. I'm excited for you guys to kind of come help us, tell us what we can work on. Because I think being critiqued on every angle, good and bad, especially customer service. Because I may think I'm good and I may think this person needs some help, but then if I've got an outside view, it just makes it, so much better.
What's the cultural diversity like in the workforce?
Wouldn't say it's very diverse, but there is. I wish we had more Spanish speaking, because that tends to be an issue, so I kind of wish we were a little bit more diverse that way, actually, because I have to call the housekeeping gal to come help me interpret when I need to, and believe me, I wish I could do the interpreting myself, so it's not as great as I'd like it to be, but it's there. It's there.
What causes the most communication failure?
Hesitancy to just even communicate, especially because we have a lot of turnover and we have new employees. They don't know how to go about it, and I don't know if it's confidence or if it's the lack of wanting to try. But I think with the newer employees coming in, there's that hesitancy of, am I doing it correctly? And I'll notice they're doing it incorrectly, and instead of being rude, I'll just be like, hey, did you know we need to do this way, this and that, and, And so it's kind of something I wish that we could, I don't know, and exactly what system would work, if they would feel more comfortable being to email it or write it down. But I just think the newer employees coming in have that hard time getting into that, totally willingness to just ask what they're doing, if they're doing it right.
So if you see other employees, they don't work hard, are you going to talk to them, or you are going to report it to the supervisor?
I try to talk to them first, because I don't think if it's something that it may take just a little push for them to do it, why get a supervisor involved and let them know that somebody wasn't doing their job? If I could maybe just help them or show them a couple things. And if it persists, if it continues where I've noticed it 3 or 4 times and it's not changing, I will just tell John, hey, so-and-so needs a little refresher, or so-and-so is just, doing this, can you maybe talk to him? And I just have John take it from there. But I try myself to get it resolved. But
So what is the best way for you to do with the situation and talk to the employees?
just talk to them right there at the front desk, because generally what it is with processing the computer and or telling the customer the right information. Like we have a scholarship program, for example. So when I give somebody that application, I make sure I go from front to back of that sheet and explain everything in between, tell them they need a reference letter, tell them the process, tell them when they're gonna get it, how they're gonna get it, what requirements they're gonna need in order to keep it. And I have a lot of employees that just say, here, turn it in by the end of the month. And it's like, that person has no idea about this program. You are the contact of information for that person. So generally, as they're doing it, or I try to get it before that customer leaves to be like, oh, hey, did you tell them about this? Or, hey, how about, oh, you need to know that, just so that that person can kind of overhear me. And then when they leave, say, okay, there's a couple points that you should probably be telling people, just kind of refresh them, kind of remind them in a friendly way, because it all just takes repetition and somebody saying, hey, you should say this to that person, is, you know, not necessarily instead of, but try to just engage them in a better conversation with somebody.
Is the grapevine like helpful or a hindrance between like being employees?
It's actually helpful because we have so many departments. We have, you know, lifeguards, we have weight trainers, we have fitness instructors. And so really it has to be kind of grapevine unless you can catch that person. You know, if I used to only work nights, so I hardly ever see the fitness trainer, so I'd make sure, hey, one of the trainers, can you tell Sherry this, that, or the other, or that kind of thing, because there is so many departments that are really kind of on their own. There's a supervisor for the weight desk, so I don't know when they work. I don't know when their schedules are. I can't tell you when Sherry, you know, or one of the night trainers is going to be there. And so hopefully that, you know, grapevine will get them to the next person, or hopefully, you know, where they need to go. I don't think.
Your first few weeks of working there, what was the biggest thing you had to overcome?
Just the constant pressure of people. You just have to go through it fast, and you have to get through people, and you just kind of have to know so many little things, but so many little things about everything that it was like, oh my gosh, I have to, wait, where's the manual? I don't know, how do you do that? And constantly asking, okay, John, how do you do this again? How do you do that? Okay, remind me of this. This is just a learning curve. And probably like most jobs, but it tends to be, there's a whole drawer of file papers that I go through almost every day handing out people stuff. So a lot of information overload. Anyone else?
So what do you learn from your supervisor and director? You can talk about that separately.
Oh, what I've learned from John is patience and the way, I don't know how to put it, kind of just to take things easy. Things don't need to be serious and micromanaged. Things can be given, to me, he's given me enough respect and leeway to make it feel like I know how to do my job and that I could help somebody else do the job. He's not constantly watching over me, you know, and so he's kind of built up that trust in me and that confidence that I can do it because he's not constantly watching over my shoulder. So I think I've learned how to handle employees pretty well from the way John's example and or Cody's. Plus I've learned the fact that if you work hard, you can get what you want. Both of those guys started out as a janitor. And now one is the director and one's a supervisor. And so if you stick with anything you want long enough and get done what you need to get done, you can get to that top position. And they're both great examples to me of that. Anyone else? Is that good? Do you have any questions?
I do, as a matter of fact, have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Let's imagine just for a moment that you're working the front desk late in the evening and someone comes in and says, you know, I'm thinking about signing up to come into the rec center. What would you do? What's your sales pitch?
Sure. Do you know our pricing? Have you looked over that much? And I instantly grab a piece of paper that shows them because I say, what we basically do is we have a 12-month contract. Now, have you ever been in the rec center before?
Yes.
Because that will show me that whether they need information on the facility or not. Great, so you've been in here before. Okay, would you like, you know, are you more comfortable doing a monthly payment or an all-at-once yearly payment? Have you kind of looked at this pricing structure at all? And then I go right into that. And then what you get with the membership is where I go next. Because if they know in their head what they're going to pay, they're already going to process that. So that when I get to that question at the very end, they know it. They're not waiting for me to tell them what they have to pay to get to us. Because by then I've put that off, and now I'm going to tell you what we have. You have personal trainers, you have an indoor track, you have swimming. Do you like swimming? And I kind of try to ask them what they're into. Do you have kids? Are you going to need daycare? You know, I tend to ask questions to get a feel of what this person wants from the rec center to make sure that I can show them that's what we're going to give them and it's worth it.
Okay, so my next question has to do with that. How were you taught to do this? What kind of training have you received to do the things that you have to do on this job?
John, when you do start, it's actually a combination. I've been doing customer service for a long time, so I pick and pull from everything, all the jobs I've had. But John will go through and basically tell you, you know, the correct things to say to somebody and kind of let you go on your own personal vendetta at that point. So I think there could be a little bit more personally. I'm trying to talk to him as far as training goes because I really think there would be a couple things that I would like people to see new employees do, or be more interactive, or ask more questions, instead of just being like, okay, well, if you don't like it, sure, or this is our prices, okay, do you wanna do it or not? And I don't think that's a good sell.
So it's more of an informal
It
training
is.
program for the new employees as opposed to a formal?
It is, and it's observation. They get thrown in, and it's hands-on after that. They just need to, John touches on the main points, for sure. So there's a little bit of formal training there, but it's really more of you're just thrown into the situation so that you can just start doing it. And the more you do it, the more you'll be comfortable.
Okay. How many times do you meet with John and the whole staff?
At the beginning, you don't really. You come in and you're on some training shifts, which means the front desk is covered and you're observing, and hopefully we can get that person doing it immediately, and I'm standing behind them so that they're doing it and I can just follow what they're doing, and if they do it wrong, I'll just say, wait, hold on, we gotta do it this way, and then let them keep going. It's really hands-on with the person who's
Okay,
training.
so new employees do work with a mentor for a while?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
a
usually
trainer?
3, 4, 5 shifts until we feel like they'd be good doing it.
And after that, it's informal training?
Mhm.
Okay, and then there's no time when you have regular meetings for ongoing training or regular meetings for communication or?
About once a quarter, we have a staff meeting.
Okay.
And we hit on every point that needs to be refreshed. So
Okay.
yeah, there's some training in question there.
And if you have a problem, you said you go to John, but if John's not working that night,
I go to Cody if he's there, or I call John. He's not hesitant to answer that cell phone, and he says it's okay, and it depends on how big that conflict is. But he's night and weekend supervisor technically, so if it happens during the day, there's gonna be someone during the day to help you. If
so you
not,
don't
it's-
mind calling him on the telephone at 9:45 at night?
No, not a bit. Nope.
Wow.
That's how easygoing John is. Because he
He
knows.
must be.
Yep, and I mean, they have work cell phones, and generally, it doesn't happen, but, a couple times a year.
Okay.
So, but yeah, he's given that free range of, give me a call whenever you feel like it's necessary.
Well, I'd like for you to give Kira a good hand for coming today.